Ah, I finally made it to the top of the hill and slayed the final boss. But look, there's someone else who made it. Is that the defect?
Well. Look at what we have here. The Watcher. As I live and breathe.
Do you live and breathe, though? You're an automaton. All you do is hurl lightning bolts and ice.
Losing your calm already? I didn't think you'd go into wrath mode so quickly. Now my darkness orbs, which you failed to mention, will do twice as much damage.
I'm 100% calm right now. I don't see a reason for us to fight. I'll hit you up if I need a weather report.
My forecast calls for plasma because I'm storing up energy to beat you. I think you're just stalling until you hit your divinity stance.
Meanwhile, you're increasing your focus so your lightning does more damage to me. Even when you're not attacking me, I can see through your tricks.
Last time I checked, you were blind. So I don't think you'll be seeing much of anything.
Oh, at least my attacks hit their target. You throw lightning and darkness around willy nilly at whoever is nearby. How did you even make it up here?
I'm not the one who constantly shifts their emotions throughout a battle. How many meltdowns have you had today? Meltdown May is living up to its name.
I only need to gain one mantra, and I'll hit divinity, and then it'll be over for you. My attacks will do 3 times damage.
It'll be too late because I'm about to multicast this darkness at you like you've never seen before. Wait. Why do I feel so sick? Did you infect me with poison?
No, I feel sick too. Oh, no. Nomi is the silent, and she used Catalyst Plus on both of us to triple our poison. We're both gonna die at the end of this turn.
No me. Why? Why do you always torture me? We could have worked together.
You know, there's not really much acting involved in what we're talking about today. Oftentimes we talk about a TV show or a movie, sometimes even food, but we've never talked about a video game before, not in depth.
That's right. And which is honestly a little odd. We're both in the pantheon of gamer gods, but that's gonna change today.
Uh-huh.
And that's gonna change today here in Dovewhether because I am your Dove AP.
And I'm your other dove, Marcy, and we're talking about Slay the Spire, a game that came out in 2019. Now, this is a game that I've played a lot over multiple years, while you started playing it very recently.
Yeah, very
So
recent.
we're gonna get both the expert and the beginner opinion on this video game. But
Yeah, you're gonna get the damage hit and then the status hit.
exactly. So yeah, this is a game where some might call it a roguelike. Some may call it a deck building game. Essentially, every time you play, you
Some
have.
might call it torture.
Yeah, I mean, it can be torture sometimes.
So some might say 40 minutes into a run only to be expelled into the home screen is torture. Some.
Yeah. So this is a game where you are fighting monsters and you're fighting them with cards. And oftentimes, you start out with like some strikes and some defense, and you're striking these monsters and defending yourself because the monsters are going to attack you. But over time, the monsters get stronger and you get more varied and weirder cards and all kinds of different mechanics. But that's kind of the basis of this game. So before we get into some of the details, I want to hear what our overall experience and thoughts were. So I've been playing this game since 2020, I believe, and I have logged almost 300 hours into this game.
Which is a normal amount, right? That's like you're only getting into like the real game after 300 hours, right?
There's still more ascension levels that I haven't unlocked, so yeah. But yeah, I really like this game. It can definitely be frustrating sometimes. There are times where I'm like, I need to take a break from it. But I played a lot of this game in 2020 and 2021, and then I didn't play it again until this year. And then I got obsessed with it again. And yeah, that's kind of my overall experience. We'll get more into it, but I want to hear about yours.
So this is a game where I know the name. I know the name. I kind of knew the general idea. Usually when Marcy like calls me at like 2 a.m. In a very loud place, but whatever, I'll take the call. I'll always take the call from Marcy. And she's like, bro, do you know about this game? This is a Slay the Spire. It's all about killing monsters and like cards. You love cards, tarot. Uh, you play a lot of euchre in college. Like I know that you'll love this game, bro. And then I hear,
Oh my god.
and so like I sat down to play for the first time like maybe a month ago. And other than that, I didn't have any interest in it. I've seen it on sale, but it just didn't call to me. And the name I find a little annoying, honestly. I'm like, oh, why are you being this illiterate? What is the spire? Why do I have to kill the spire? What has the spire done to me? And then I played like 30 hours of it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I love it. Yeah, I think so. My sister is the one who originally got obsessed with this game, and then she got me obsessed. So if you think the 300 hours I've spent on it, I bet she's spent even more. But yeah, this is a game where each run takes anywhere from like 45 minutes to an hour and a half. So it's definitely like a time investment. But it's also a game where you can like, pick up, do a battle, put it down, play it again later. I think for me, it's been very useful to play it on the Switch, where I can bring that wherever I'm going. Well, you've been playing on the PC, so that's a little bit different.
I am a little bit of a PC gamer, which is something like we've never really gotten into, like our experience with video games. I used to be a console gamer, but I just eventually like I did the switch into being a PC gamer only. So like yeah, I like sat down in front of my computer to play this game, which I think changes the kind of like relationship to this type of game. It's no longer like a thing you could pick up and put down. It's like a thing I have to like make a decision to go game.
Yeah.
And I think that's true for a lot of like the PC games that I play. And that kind of developed a little bit of a dissonance in my mind. what I will say though is that like my general like uh history of gaming and being a gamer, capital G.
Yeah, capital G. Um, yeah, AP capitalizes gamer but not girlfriend.
That's right. Well, one of them is important. And I I just like I have played a lot of games. I think I play more games than you do.
Mhm.
That's not a brag, but I'm bragging. And I actually I think I happen to play like a wide variety of games. Like I play shooters, RPGs. I do these like big weird puzzle games where like Project Talos, where it's like you have to spend so much time to just line up images to get the key to go to another puzzle. Uh, and I play like very heavy story games like Alan Wake, as I mentioned in the previous episode. Um, and yeah, I am a gamer. I like to video game. I'm I'm like Lana Del Rey that way, and I just sat down to play this, and I don't know. I have more thoughts, but generally,
What games do we think that Lana Del Rey was playing?
well, I think she definitely was playing Borderlands 2.
Mm.
I think she was definitely walking around thinking about the sirens and their like plight, being a very small but powerful group in the universe, and then you know the corporatism that leads to the destruction of planets for the sake of profit. I think that's what she was into.
Yeah, which of course was exactly what the movie picked up that came out in the last year and bombed. Um,
Kate Blanchett was
yeah,
literally the love of my life. Literally literally the fourth ventricle in my heart. She was in that.
yeah. Look, everyone has to have a few bad movies. But yeah, so I'm coming from this from the Nintendo side of things. I've been a Nintendo girl since I was young. We got the Nintendo 64 when I was a single digit old. We never got the GameCube. We had enough fun from the N64. We eventually got the Wii. I remember those days of like looking everywhere just to get the Wii, and we finally got it, and it was such a happy experience. And then I think I got the Wii U around after I graduated from college. Of course, I was playing the 3DS a lot in college. I was playing like Pokemon XY then. Um, and then I got the Switch, and I played the Switch a lot when I was traveling for work on the plane. That was a lot of fun, but I haven't been as much of a gamer recently. But every once in a while, like I'll have these phases of my life where I'm really into a game. And if it was Slay the Spire in 2020 in 2021, and this year, it was Breath of the Wild when that came out. I the, you could definitely argue like what is and isn't a video game because the game that I was kind of into before this was like a cheap phone game, Marvel Snap, and
Mm.
that's like a game that I similarly got addicted to because my sister was into it. But with that one, I could tell pretty early on that like it wasn't good for me and that I needed to take a break from it, which, more on that
This is also
later.
a departure in between you and me. Like,
Uh-huh.
uh, I I generally don't. I generally want to play a video game to be like a standalone experience. Like I
Mm.
come in, I enjoy it, and I leave.
Uh-huh.
In something like Slay the Spire or um, this Marvel Rivals. Wait, no, not Marvel's Snap,
Uh-huh.
and another game like Balatro. Like these games are like built to like manacle you onto a table and
Mm-hmm.
like not let you go.
Yes.
Like Guantanamo Bay style,
Oh
like
God.
have you in captivity for hours, for weeks, for years.
Yeah, Balatro, I had not heard of this until you told me about it, and I asked if I should play it, and you told me no, I'm not allowed to play it because you don't want to lose another friend to it.
Yeah, too many good ones. Too many good ones have been taken by the clown.
Mm. Yeah, so
And I ain't talking to Ronald.
I think some people might say you're more of a hardcore gamer. I'm more of a more of a casual gamer in some ways. I think like Nintendo games kind of had that stigma attached to it back when I paid attention to discourses around games where people were like, oh, that person just plays Wii Sports, they're not a serious gamer. I do feel like over the years, like some of the more so-called serious games have been ported to Switch, but people will always say, "Oh yeah, well Nintendo doesn't have as good graphics, so the best games are on PC. Some of them are on Microsoft or PlayStation." And I was just like, you know what? I don't care about all the snobbery. I just want to have a good time.
And admittedly, like I miss those games. The time where video games were discussion was about that.
Uh huh.
I would love for someone to like sit down and be like, I don't want to play this game because of the graphics. They're not realistic enough.
Uh huh.
And they stop there.
Yeah.
And then they don't go directly into talking about how the female characters don't have a big enough tits and ass for them to like be able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Or like how I don't know, some like a black person in a video game isn't realistic. I would love to go back into those days where it's just like, no, that's a kid game. I'm not gonna play Pokemon.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, but I think it's interesting with us kind of coming from these two different perspectives because there's definitely games that we've both played, but there's also I've played probably more Mario, more Pokemon games than you, and
Yeah,
you've
I've only played a Pokemon Emerald from start to end.
mm,
That's it.
yeah, and well, I've played like Pokemon Blue, Pokemon Gold, Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon X, Pokemon Crystal, Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap. I could keep going. So yeah, definitely. So I think with me, I want to play a game if I can get hooked on it, and I get frustrated with a game if I get stuck.
Yeah.
And like with something like Slay the Spire, you can like lose and then be frustrated because you don't know how to win, but you get to restart every time, and I think that helps. Where like for instance with Tears of the Kingdom, for some reason I loved Breath of the Wild, one of my favorite games ever. Tears of the Kingdom, I just kept getting stuck. And I was like, you know what? I just don't want to play this anymore. I don't want to have to like look up online what to do next. And I know the whole point is like, well, you could do whatever you want to do. No, I'm still like in the tutorial section. Maybe like my gaming skills have atrophied. I don't know. But like with something like Slay the Spire, that's never gonna happen to me. Like it could happen where I'm like, oh, I've played all day and I haven't won. This sucks. But then if I take a break and then I come back after midnight, like I did last night, or maybe it was the night before, and then I just like play and I win. And I'm like, damn, see, sometimes you just have to take a break.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. It is like when I played I played Elden Ring. Yeah, like sometimes I would like sit there for 5 hours and be like, why am I just getting my face kicked in by these two fleshy guys?
Uh-huh.
And then yeah, like you take a break, you drink some water, you maybe order a pizza, maybe you cry a little bit, and then yeah, you get back into it. I will say that like I generally I think there is like a strain of gamer as you mentioned that just wants to be grabbed and just wants to be like in a space or in a, like a flow state for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I am that type of freak that's like, no, tell me a story.
Uh-huh.
Like I want to know like what you're saying here, even if the game isn't the most like exciting. Like I played a game called Senwa Saga 2 earlier this year, and Fun game, interesting story. The combat wasn't the most exciting, but I have like big thoughts about that game, or like God of War and God of War 2, like a great game, big story, cool characters. I have some ideas on that stuff. When it comes to Slay the Spire, though, all I can think about is just like every single time I get I get a boot on my neck, and then once I get a reprieve to breathe a little bit, it goes right back on it,
Uh-huh.
and I'm supposed to be grateful.
Yeah, I'm definitely very different in that I don't really go to video games for story. I go to TV, movies, and books for story. I I think like especially like in my college days and like the years after I graduated from college, I didn't want there to be much story in my games because oftentimes I was like either listening to music or a podcast while I played the video game. So something like Pokemon was like perfect because like you're kind of doing the same thing. You're just like battling and you don't have to use too much of your brain to be like, okay, lightning is super effective against water. So that means I'm going to be playing Pikachu against Lapras,
Right.
that kind of thing. Um, and so yeah, when like I played like a JRPG and it had like cutscenes every 5 minutes, I was like, this isn't working for me.
Mm.
So yeah, with Slay the Spire, I'm like, I don't need a story. I just want to be able to sit on the couch and play it for an hour and a half and then check my Slack messages to see if anyone's pinged me and then go back to playing.
Atrocious sentence. Atrocious sentence.
Well, let's get a bit into the boot on our neck. And with this game, there are 4 characters. And basically, you unlock each of them as you beat. For instance, you start as the Ironclad, and you have to win as the Ironclad. And once you do, you unlock the Silent, and then you unlock the Defect, and then the Watcher. And of course, for you, you didn't unlock the Watcher until recently. While compared to me, I've actually played the Watcher more than any of the other characters because I had so much fun playing as the Watcher. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's start with the Ironclad, who I call the basic bitch. But you've spent more time on the Ironclad than with any of the other characters. So
Yeah, I have studied the blade,
uh-huh.
and I know how to do the whirlwind. I know how to do the rage.
Mm.
I know how to build up a stack of shields and strength, and letting the evil monsters know that I have studied the blade and I know how to cut them down.
Yeah. So one thing I like about this game is that there's so many different cards that we could have 2 completely different strategies. Like Whirlwind, I don't think I've ever used that card.
You have used that card. I promise you.
Well,
It's the card that like you attack X amount of times as the energy that you have. And
Oh, right. See, there's so many cards that yeah. The one thing I like about this game is that they give you like character stats and run history, and they give you like the compendium of like all the cards. So right now I'm looking at this shit and I'm like, I want to find Whirlwind. Well, oh, right, yeah. Okay, I do remember Whirlwind. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that one, but yeah, it is helpful. I feel like for me, I often default to being like the only attacks I want to unlock are Carnage and like a few others that do a lot of damage because I feel like oftentimes with the Ironclad, if you don't unlock a really good attack quickly, you'll just die.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think
You like to see a big number.
I like to see a big number. Yeah.
And I like to see a number many times over. I'm
Yeah.
like five. Oh, instead of 5, oh!
Yeah, I mean, there's other characters who I use the X times attack more often, but for the Ironclad, I never really did that. So yeah, this is like the most basic one, but there are like some pretty interesting strategies you can get to if you figure them out. I think one of the most an interesting dynamic in this game is exhausting cards. You might think like, why would I want to exhaust a card? I added this card to my deck. Why would I want to get rid of it? But once you chain together cards and relics and just different things, you can make it so that it's like, oh, every time I exhaust a card, I gain shield and it does attack damage to the monsters. And there's this card called Corruption that makes it so that every single spell will go down to 0 energy if you play it, and then they'll immediately exhaust. And that can be like a really fun dynamic.
You see, this is the thing, is that I'm a pea brain, like I am an actual pigeon brain person. Like when I say I'm a dove, I mean it. Like I only know where is seed and I need twig. Okay, so when things get like when in games get complicated and you're like, I need to like stack 2 or 3 steps so I can get a massive reward. As in, like, as you just explained, that to me, my brain doesn't work that way. My brain is like, is way more, what is the quickest path to see these numbers again? And
Yeah.
but you're like, you're big brain, galaxy brained over there.
And one of the things about this game is that there's a lot of luck involved. You don't know if you're always going to run across the same cards, the same relics, the same bosses, monsters, etc. So you can go in thinking, okay, I won with this strategy before. Let me try to just do the exact same thing. But that doesn't always work. You have to be able to adjust on the fly to what the game gives you. So,
And are you good? Are you good at that? Are you good at like seeing the like the conditions and like navigate, like being nimble and navigating that
yeah.
to see that big number that you love?
I think so. I mean, I think you do have to kind of accept that you are gonna die like a good amount of time. Like I don't know if we want to look through my stats, but I've died way more than
Bust
I've
them out.
won.
Bust them out.
Okay.
I did not bring my stats. Let's just say I was always on par. All right, I was always doing just okay. You know.
Yeah. All right. I'm bringing up the stats now so that people can know. Yeah, character stats. All right. So overall statistics. Total playtime 275 hours and 58 minutes and 21 seconds. So my Switch says that I played 290 hours of the game, and I think part of this is that there's like time counted by the Switch that's not counted by the game.
Well, does it tell you how long you've been playing Ironclad for?
Yeah, well we can get like character specific, like playtime for Ironclad is 54 and a half hours.
Whoa, you definitely put that boy down.
But that's the least out of all the characters.
Yeah.
I have about 68 hours for the silent, about 66 and a half for the defect, and about 87 for the watcher.
And like, so like, is the silent and the defect, do they satisfy that kind of urge to see that stacking of cards and relics and potions to see a massive numbers? Like, do they like scratch that itch more?
The silent absolutely does. I think I've grown to love the silent more this year. I think the watcher was my favorite by far back in 2020, 2021. But the silent, I think the silent's very based on poison, or at least the way I play it, poison and discarding. And it's very satisfying. For instance, like there's a few cards that like can do crazy things. Corpse Explosion, where if you use Corpse Explosion on an enemy and then that enemy dies, then you do that enemy's max HP to the other characters. And so you can do like a chain of like give Corpse Explosion to one character, then triple its poison with Catalyst Plus, and then kill all the characters in one full sweep.
Okay. I never did that. Yeah, she's the master, and I am I am the neophyte.
I wouldn't call myself master yet. I haven't. So basically, once you beat all the characters, you unlock ascension modes for each of them, where basically every ascension level is a little bit harder than the one before it, and they like do things like, oh, now you have less max HP, now the enemies are harder, now you only get 2 potion slots, etc.
Hmm.
And there's 20 ascension levels for each character. I have not gotten to ascension level 20 on any of them yet, so yeah, I wouldn't call myself the master yet.
This is like in Mortal Kombat, the ladder challenges. I know those. I
Mm.
know this well. I did not play a lick of the Ascension mode.
Uh-huh.
But I honestly spent not too much time with the silence. I like the poison mechanic that she
Hmm.
has. And but generally, like, I didn't. I don't know. I want to spend more time with other
Yeah.
characters, like the defect.
Hmm.
Once I first started playing the defect, I like this idea of you kind of have these, like, you build these buffs
Hmm.
with the orbs,
Yeah.
and you can do a massive amount individually, or do a wide variety of damage to, like, everyone with, like, the
Hmm.
lightning orb. um or, like, you can be like a very fortified figure with the frozen orb.
Hmm.
I like that kind of stuff. It just felt a little more, I'm queuing things up for a desired effect.
Hmm.
A- and and I enjoyed that a little bit. I also never really, like, I feel like I never really got into the groove of how to, like, strategize with them.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know. Like, you must be a strategy head in the with these people.
A bit, yeah. I think a lot of it is trial and error. So yeah, the defect, that's the one that I've played the most in the last week or so because I had already had a lot of experience in the Watcher, and then once I knew we're gonna do the podcast, I kind of went back to more of the Ironclad and the Silent. Got hooked on the Silent for a while, but then I was like, I've got the least amount of hours for the Defect. I need to play more of that. And then I think like there was a while where I was only on Ascension level 6 on Defect, and I was like in double digits in the rest. But so I have gotten better at the Defect recently. And yeah, the 4 different orbs, lightning, ice, darkness, and plasma. It does give you a lot of variety in a way to stack things. Where there's kind of a few different strategies you can use. You can try to, because there's both cards and relics that can grow the number of orbs you have, but that can all sometimes be a detriment because if you have darkness. And the thing about darkness is that it grows more powerful the longer you have it. If you have too many orb slots, then it's harder uh, to evoke the darkness.
Mm.
And so you kind of have to decide a strategy of like, are you going to focus more on having lightning, and you're going to have like a lot of orb slots, and you're going to have static discharge, which is the card where every time you get attacked, it creates a new lightning orb.
Right.
Um, or do you want to be like, you know what? I want to focus on the darkness, and there's like there's this card called Loop, where if you have the darkness and the closest orb to the enemy, the loop will like increase it faster,
Mm.
and then you can use something like the X times conjure cars to make it go boom, 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 boom. Darkness, use the same orb over and over again.
Boom, 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 boom. I want you in my room.
So yeah, there's a lot of really good power cards for the defect, and a lot of it is like, for instance, I really like the card Echo Form, where the first card you play every turn is played twice, and then if you use that with Buffer, which is a card where it basically cancels out the next time that you're going to get a hit, you can use it to like have like the next 4 times you get hit not count if you upgrade the Buffer and then use the Buffer as the first card in your turn after using Echo Form. So there's a lot of like really cool things you can do.
Yeah, and, like, you're hyper fixated. I'm hypo fixated. When I tried playing the defect, the times that I really sat down to try to get up the spire, I would run into this issue where I don't know if it's better to build wide with the orbs, or build like or min max to be
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm only going lightning. I'm gonna make sure I have only ever lightning and everything is being
Mm-hmm.
hitting that many times. Or do I want to like, or should I build like a deck that like evocation is the most important thing, where
Mm-hmm.
the orb gets activated, the effect that it has is done, and then I get a new one. I really never knew how. I never really knew what resources to focus on during each playthrough for every one of these characters, because I generally always try new things.
Mm-hmm.
So like I never like went into one character with the idea of like building one specific resource to min max and to like really develop, really like stomp all these little guys. I just never did that.
Mm-hmm.
But well, I mean, with your 300 hours, you know, like I don't fear the man that has practiced one one punch. Fuck, I can't remember. I can't remember the quote. Oh my dumbass brain. You know what I'm talking about?
One Punch Man.
No. It's the quote from what's his name? Bruce Lee.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm not up on my Bruce Lee quotes.
ah, this foolish ass brain of mine. Okay, give it. So I'll say this. Like these three characters, Ironclad was my favorite because I am a bit of a basic bitch. I know that the shortest distance in between 2 points is a straight line, and I know how to walk a straight line.
Uh huh. Yeah, Ironclad I would say is my least favorite, but there's definitely nuances to Ironclad that you find the more you play. And to what you said for the defect, I don't think you can really do just one, unless like the only way that could work is if you do just ice and then you have some other cards that are really good. It is really fun to like get a bunch of ice and then like you're fighting like these really strong enemies and then they're like ha ha ha, I'm gonna hit you for 50 damage, and then you're just like, bitch, I don't care, I got 70 shield. But I do think having like a variety is good. I think like darkness and plasma, it depends on the run. I have runs where I ignore plasma entirely, and same with darkness. It kind of depends on like what cards are you getting, just kind of how is it shaping up.
So, okay, so those are the like ones that I played. I only played the Watcher a handful of times,
Uh-huh.
but this is your main.
Yeah, this is the one I played the most. It's also my sister's favorite. I think it's just there's something really fun about the whole dynamic where you're switching from stance to stance. The calm stance is like the one where okay, well actually it's probably easier to explain the wrath stance first because that's the one where you're 2 times as powerful but also attacks will do 2 times as much damage to you. The thing about going from calm into wrath is that you get two more energy when you go out of calm. So it's more of going out of calm than going into calm. Although there are cards like, for instance, like water, where you'll automatically gain shield if you're in calm. But like switching back and forth between these different stances, and also divinity, which we'll get into, it's just a lot of fun for me. There's something about it that's very satisfying. Um, yeah, I don't know if it's like the emotional aspect of like I'm angry. I am going to I am going to fight these enemies. And oh no, now I'm going to take more damage, but that's okay because I can go into calm mode and I have multiple cards that can change
Girl, you
stances.
won't like me when I'm calm.
Yeah, there. I think like to me the Watcher and the Defect feel the most unique. I do love the Silent because of the poison, but I think those are the two most creative ones, and I think the Watcher There's just something about it that feels unlike any other video game that I've played.
I saw some videos on the Watcher. Apparently, there's like this infinite loop that you could create, where certain cards can always come back into your hand, and you can always play them, and
Uh-huh.
then you could just like slowly wither away the HP, or very quickly depending on what you have.
Yeah.
And I never got that pleasure to like really like steamroll these monsters, but I want to know something. So I was digging into this game. I was trying to like see the story. I was trying to figure out what the Spire was and like who the Spire is. And honestly, I kind of gave up because I was getting nowhere.
Uh-huh.
But I just have a question about the Watcher. Is she gay?
I think she's gay. Yeah, I definitely get a gay vibe from the Watcher. Yeah, I think in a different life, the Watcher is my wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was twisting my eyes to like try to find like any queerness in this game. And then like overt queerness, not
Yeah.
not something I could like overlay queerness onto.
Uh-huh.
And I found nothing.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily looking for like, oh, this is the reason why the Watcher is gay. I feel like it's more of a vibe for me. The Watcher is wearing purple. Purple's my favorite color, and she's a badass. She can use her emotions to kill monsters.
And when like you shake her hand, you see how like short her fingernails are, and you're like, oh.
Yep. Yeah. So we gotta get into divinity stance a little bit because this is the third stance, which you may not see if you just play the Watcher for a little bit. But divinity is harder to get to, but once you're there, you do 3 times as much damage, and you draw a bunch of cards once you get into it. And it's basically the best way to like win a battle because you're just like boom. You thought I was powerful before. Now I'm even more powerful, and it's not like Wrath mode where like your defense is worse too. Your defense is just going to be normal, but it's harder to get into divinity mode because you gotta get your mantra up, and you need specific cards or relics for that. So, or you can play blasphemy. And you can go immediately into divinity, but then you die at the end of your turn. So yeah, you gotta be careful with that one.
Is this just a religious character? Just you're just playing as a nun, a lesbian nun.
Probably, yeah, yeah. Because you got cards called Devotion and Diva form. There's a lot going on.
Oh, you won't like me when I'm on my diva form. I, I just I don't know the motivation of these characters,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if anybody needs to know though. I will say when I try to like connect with these characters, like I couldn't connect with them in any real way. The actual playable characters. But you know what I was connecting with?
What?
The monsters.
Aww.
Like the monsters are so cute in this game. There's like these little bird guys that like are blue. And
I don't like those guys.
Okay, okay, all right. Well, I
They
mean,
can be annoying.
well,
They like peck you 6 times in a row.
some of us like that. I just think they're very cute. I like how their little arms are just up the whole time.
Uh-huh.
I also like there's this like boss that's just like a shell
Uh-huh.
that like starts asleep
Yeah,
and
that,
then
that
like
one's
stands
fun.
up. Very cute. Very
Yeah.
cute design. There's also like this. There's a handful of blobs which I normally don't really like.
Mhm.
But the boss blob,
Mm.
very cute. I just want to like hold it and like squish it.
Yeah, I'm glad you found a route to connecting to this game. Yeah, there definitely are some really fun, really annoying monsters. I definitely think. Did you run into the one where it has like a really high HP and then it dies in 5 turns, and it's all about kind of every time you attack it, um, its attack goes down, so you have to like combine the attack and defense to make sure that like you survive those 5 turns.
I don't have that on my mind right
Yeah.
now. You know what's going on in my mind?
What?
The little like triangle enemy guys that like always give you these like unplayable cards. The
Uh
like
huh. Oh
triangle with
yeah.
a blue dot and then a triangle pyramid at the bottom. Those are super cute.
Uh huh.
I don't know if I want to like have like a plushie of them, but I know I definitely want a necklace like
Yeah.
that.
Definitely.
Other than that, I don't know. It's just like I would say that like some of these games like cuteness is a really important thing.
Hmm.
I should say in like roguelikes. In roguelikes, cuteness is super important. Like if you ever played Enter the Gungeon,
I have
incredibly
not.
cute game. So cute. And like or like Hades. Hades, which is a very popular game, like a handful of years. I think the second one came out, or maybe just the some demos. Very cute game too. Like all the characters are very well designed to be like, oh, they're just like cute and plushy.
Hmm.
And I really like this about like Slay the Spire. None of it felt like grotesque
Hmm.
or like mean in any way.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
There's like a little relic that's like a mask, that's like a pink mask uh with three triangles, three prongs coming out of it. Which I was just like, every time I get it, I was just like, oh, that's such a cute little mask. I love it.
Yeah, I like how we kind of engage with these games in different ways where I'm definitely not as focused on the cuteness. Like when I was showing the game to my girlfriend, she was like, "Oh, it's purple," and like that made me think like, "Oh yeah, maybe that's part of the reason why I love the Watcher so much." So yeah, I'm as with all types of art, there's like so many different ways to like look at these things and engage with them. So yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah. Same thing with Hollow Knight. Like one of the things that like got me into Hollow Knight was just like this little guy.
Hmm.
This just like cute like little guy with a little mask.
Yeah,
And then that guy proceeds to like murder an entire city. But like
yeah, I do think that is part of the appeal of the recent Zelda game that I played a good amount with my girlfriend. The Echoes of Wisdom. I did enjoy that one a lot. You know, being able to like build a bunch of beds in order to like cross a mountain. That was a lot of fun.
mm,
But yeah, I kind of want to get into some of the more why does this show appeal to me so much? And after thinking about it a lot, I think part of it is this idea of climbing up that hill, just like Kate Bush, and doing it over and over again, and continuously fighting monsters, getting stronger, getting to the end, beating the boss, and then it's like, oh, there's still you haven't beaten the entire game yet. I feel like it's kind of like being a socialist in America in 2025.
in this TED talk, I will.
You're like constantly going to protest and canvassing and raising money for abortion, and it can feel sometimes like it's impossible, but you know that you have to keep doing it because even if you won't see socialism in your lifetime, you're part of the movement that's going to topple capitalism, and it might happen the generation after you, and the work that you did will be part of the reason why.
So you're imagining Sisyphus in calm mode.
Yeah, it's like I'm getting my relics and I'm fighting alongside Marx, and we're beating up the capitalists.
I I see where you're coming from.
Uh-huh.
It like roguelikes at the heart of their attraction is this idea of getting slightly better
Uh-huh.
every single time you go through one of these runs. in your organizing, do things get slightly better every time you like go organize?
I think it kind of depends.
I say that because I don't know. I don't know about in my organizing
Yeah.
if that happens.
I mean, some context for this is that I was on an organizing break, and I'm kind of like tiptoeing back. I mean, I have raised like 4,000 money for Chicago Abortion Fund.
Got
So in
to.
that case, I'm doing more than tiptoeing, but in other cases, tiptoeing. So I think it kind of reminds me more of like the 2019 to 2023. That was like my peak years of political organizing, and I do think I got better at it. Those years, I do think that like by the time I hit 2022, 2023, I was more experienced in doing things like canvassing and like following up with people and like planning things and all that kind of stuff where like people kind of looked to me as a leader. So in that sense, I do think I did get better. Like at the same time, like capitalism kind of got better at crushing us. But that also kind of parallels the game because
There are no cute monsters in capitalism.
uh like that also parallels the game because like as you get to higher ascension levels, the game gets harder. So yeah, the metaphor still tracks.
I want to imagine a better world,
Hmm.
and in the effort that takes to get to that better world is a lot,
Yeah.
right? I just don't know. I don't know if not to be too like too literal here, right? I just know that to me, when I see video games like this where you slowly get better
Hmm.
to the point where you're like crushing your opponent,
Uh-huh.
I would love that to be similar to my organizing.
Yeah.
It usually has just been the other way around though.
Uh-huh.
I have in my short lifetime, I have just seen the powers. I have seen the spire grow taller.
Yeah.
I've seen stronger and more hateful and more pernicious and better organized right wing people get into more power.
Hmm.
I'm not the biggest like I'm not the biggest like, oh, if we get rid of like one specific thing, then that will lead to like victory, right? That will lead to a more equitable world, a more a better connected world. What I do think is that sometimes the drops that I put into to making that better world, like it's just not. Sometimes it just doesn't feel like nothing happens.
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna stop, but I wish I could get the same dopamine about building a stack of shield and using my own shield to like be able to bop a flying bird out of existence, a little demon bird out of existence. I wish I could do that in the same way that I do that against I don't know the forces that are killing all the Palestinians.
Hmm.
But I can't.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that's
They're
part
doing that
of
to me.
I do think that's part of the reason why I needed a break is I mean, there's a lot of reasons why, but yeah, I think taking the break has like allowed me to get a healthier like sense of my own. I guess I'm prioritizing parts of my life that I think I wasn't prioritizing enough when I was like super like organizing every day. Um, so I'm hoping that like once I'm kind of like doing more of it, that I'm able to kind of get those happiness bursts from both the organizing and from outside of the organizing. Because yeah, I think that it can be very dispiriting work. But I do think there have been some times where like I feel like I have felt those victories. Some of them have been like local elections where like we absolutely destroyed the neoliberal competition.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the fact that I've basically
Not a cute monster.
I've raised more and more money each year for Chicago Abortion Fund. I feel like that feels like a victory, even if like at the same time Roe falling makes everything worse. The fact that we're able to raise more money,
Yeah, when Roe fell, the spire got 10 feet
yeah,
taller.
absolutely. And yeah, it's like I think the video game obviously is way less realistic than real life. Like we're like this metaphor is fun to think about it, but yeah, at a certain point it is gonna fall apart. But I think it's more of a like this is probably part of the reason why I enjoy it, and a big reason why I enjoy it is it's just really fun to escape into a video game for a few hours.
I would say I would say there is something to be said there's something to be said here about not not being super focused on the individual losses,
Hmm.
but to enjoy the overarching process.
Yeah.
Like I've been part of electoral work here in Chicago too, and literally the ones that I've been part of, most of them except for one have lost.
Uh huh.
The ones that I've actually gone to knock on doors with, where like the candidate like knows me and like I know people running the campaign. Like
Hmm.
every single one, the one that I've been part of has lost. The
Yeah.
only one that hasn't is the current mayor,
Uh huh.
and like that's not a bad
Uh huh.
thing, I guess. It is though that it has made me someone who actually enjoys going to find people and talking about actual issues, or at least that interaction, because I'm if I like back another candidate, if I go knock on doors on another candidate, and there's ones that I really enjoy running right now, if I do that, I am not walking in there with the belief that they're gonna win. I'm walking in there with the belief this is an opportunity for me to talk to people about the actual issues that they
Hmm.
have and kind of motivate them into wanting to see having a bigger dream than
Hmm.
they've been encouraged to have.
Yeah, and I definitely think you can see cases, and I've experienced this of an election like growing like an organization, growing like a community of people, bringing people together, and those people working together on things that aren't elections, working together on mutual aid, on like political education, all kinds of things. So yeah, I like how we start talking about a video game, and then we're getting into the nitty gritty of political organizing. Only on dovewhether.
This ain't the nitty gritties. I could get in. You know me. I could get gritty.
We'll save the grittiness for the Patreon.
I think I just wanna like I do wanna hit on this point. Like the outcome of something is almost tertiary for me now. I've realized that like my effort is so it's an illusion to believe that effort will lead directly into a result.
Mhm.
Just because these systems are so large, elections are an election is just part of a system that's just so large. Doing all kinds of organizing is just only a fraction of the larger system. And so when we do play games like this, and when I do like struggle a little bit to be like, oh, what's the min max here? What research should I like develop? Even though that I've only played like 30 hours of this game, like I know very well that I've enjoyed it.
Mhm.
And I might be Sisyphean in that way, but I say fuck it. Like, I don't have control over the outcome, but I have control over my effort and my attitude, and I'm gonna roll that rock. I'm gonna run up that hill.
Uh-huh. I love that. One thing I wanted to talk about is why specifically did I get really into this game in 2025 and also in 2020, 2021? What is it about these years? And, 2020 election year, 2024 election year, there's like that parallel. Like, I think big shifts are happening. Obviously, COVID is like the huge event in 2020. Like, I was literally like stuck in my home the entire year. Gives me a lot of time to just play video games as much as I want. So why have I returned to that this year? I do think that like the second Trump term has brought a reason to want escapism. I also think it's kind of like a seasonal thing where I often look for an escapist thing while I'm waiting for summer. And summer is pretty close now. I think that Slay the Spire helped me get closer to summer. I think that like I'm kind of waiting for certain things in my life to happen. I won't get into the details, but there's a very trans thing happening in my life later this year that I'm
She's gonna
excited
play
about.
Celeste.
I have played Celeste. I think I played Celeste before I knew I was trans. I played that like back when I traveled for work. I played that a lot on the plane. I liked that game a lot. So yeah, it's like I think I didn't realize that I was like in a kind of liminal period of my life, kind of a transitional, we left to trans period of my life. And I knew that like, yeah, I can play Slay the Spire for a bunch of hours in the day. And like that doesn't prevent me from having like a healthy social life. It doesn't prevent me from spending a lot of great time with my girlfriend. It doesn't prevent me from keeping up with my TV shows. I mean, I do think part of it is that I have a job that allows me to multitask a lot, but
It doesn't become pathological though,
uh-huh.
right? Like, you're not when you say you seek these forms of escapism, it's not a pathology. You're not actively shutting everything else out, as you're saying.
Yeah.
Uh, I almost imagine this as like as part of a regulatory uh action that you do for your emotions and your mind. I don't do that for video games. Video games have always been a little bit of an emotional sink for me, honestly. Like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when I was younger, I would get so sad when I finished a video game that I really enjoyed, in a way that I didn't when I would finish a movie or a show. I would say now, like, to really to fly in a V formation with you, like, I get that feeling of wanting to focus your mind entirely onto one concept.
Mm-hmm.
It might be Slay the Spire at this moment in your life, and to me that's cycling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I am on my bicycle, either going fast, slow, with a bunch of traffic, with no traffic, and in the middle of the night, in the middle of the day, with wind, with no wind, all I can think about is just I'm on two wheels and I need to think about nothing else. Nothing else.
Yeah. I think that your hyperfixation on bicycling is a lot healthier than my hyperfixation on the Switch. You're getting exercise, you're outside. So I'm happy for you that's your hyperfixation and it's not like pushing penguins off the Empire Steel ah, Em- oh my god. Empire State Building. Um
I thought you were gonna say Empire Stale Building, and I was gonna be like, yeah, the Chrysler Building's better anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy for you, and I'm happy that
And actually, I'm a hit you with this. No, it's not healthier. Like there is no need to like put a modifier like that on these things that we're using to fucking make it through the day.
Uh-huh.
It would be different if you heard me say, "Yeah, um, I'm gonna light up a crack pipe just because
Mhm.
I'm sick and tired of this. I don't know, 9 to 5 I have.
Mhm.
That would be different. Like if
Yeah.
I was actively like doing meth, or if I
Mhm.
was actively like going and putting myself in like dangerous situations that do nothing but increase the damage I could feel.
Mhm.
Like that would be unhealthy. But what we talked about is not. They don't have to be good or bad. These are just the things that we need when there's literally people getting snatched up
Mhm.
just for being brown, just for being born in other places in our own backyard here in Chicago.
Yeah,
That is the unhealthy thing.
definitely. I like that reframing. Yeah. I think it's easy to be like, "Oh, getting exercise outside good, playing video games for 300 hours inside bad." But yeah, you're right. Despite that though, I still feel like I want to make an announcement.
Uh-huh.
And that announcement is that I am going to take
Oh my god, are you?
a month break from Slay the Spire,
Okay.
starting tomorrow.
Cold turkey.
Cold turkey. I might like take some screenshots of it for the Instagram, but I'm not gonna play a full run. I, I'm I think I kind of did a similar thing with Marvel Snap the previous year when I was playing that every day, where I was like, you know what, by the end of this month, I'm gonna take a month break, and then I never played it again. Um, I think I probably will
You're
eventually.
taking a tolerance break
I
on
mean,
Slay the Spire.
well, there is going to be a Slay the Spire sequel that's going to come out
Oh,
eventually.
and the high you're gonna get. Oh my god, the head high, the body high. Oh
When
my
that comes out,
god.
I am going to play it, but I think it will be good for me to take a month break from this because I have like I found it useful, like I said earlier, to take even a day break from the game sometimes. But I think a month, especially because we're getting close to Pride Month, I think it'll be good for me to
To
have.
go out and be gay. Fuck
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Like spend more time outside, and when I'm inside, I can read. I want to read more.
Outside, gay. Inside, straight.
Well, I'll be reading some gay shit though. So, although, yeah, I mean, I guess The Hobbit is one of the things I'll be reading. And hey, there's some gay shit in Tolkien too. So, we don't have Frodo and Sam in The Hobbit making googly eyes against each other, but I'm sure there's a queer reading of that book.
Sound.
There's like Gandalf AO3 shit from The Hobbit. I'm sure.
I'll take your word for it. I generally, when I think of wizards, and how like sexy they are, I don't think of Gandalf.
Uh huh.
But different strokes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'll be looking for maybe it's like, oh yeah, Gandalf is trans, and I don't know. I'm sure there's some really wacky stuff out there, but
It does sound like you're stepping into Hopecast.
ooh, Hopecast. Yeah, I think maybe I am, and I think
Take that shirt off. We're about to dive into Hopecast.
yeah, I think what I'm hopeful for is that summer is coming. Like it's easy to be like, oh yeah, the farmers market is back, so it's summertime. But with Chicago weather, we're gonna get highs and lows all over the place. But it's gotten really nice to walk outside, and I walk to the park every morning and feel the sun on my skin. I love it. I did get maybe a little bit sunburnt this weekend, but I think that's just a sign I need to wear more sunscreen. Um, and yeah, Pride. This will be my first full Pride month coupled up, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, a lot. We got through the winter. Now let's have some fun.
Okay. Nice. Nice. You're so seasonal. Like you're the most like perennial person I know.
And you didn't used to be that way, so I love this change in me.
I have only one thing that is bring me hope these days, and that is the two wheels I mentioned, because I'm about to take a 500-mile cycling trip.
Whoa!
I would tell you where I'm going, but I'm already there.
And I would walk 500 miles an
I
hour.
would cycle 500. I don't know. I don't know if I would walk 500 miles for like a girl, but it depends. It depends on what's like at the end of the 500 miles,
Uh-huh.
And I think to me, it's like self-discovery. So
Yeah, I'm really excited for you for the trip. And yeah, I'm excited for all of you listeners because you can subscribe to Dovewhether on
and you wanna subscribe
Yeah.
because we got a triple XL June coming up. You think we're gay now? You think we're queer now? Oh my god. We're gonna get a one-way ticket to El Salvador come July. How we're gonna be so gay.
The pride will be seeping out of your earbuds. You can find us on YouTube
You can find us on Spotify.
and pretty much any podcasting platform you can think of. You can make a podcasting platform in your garage and will magically appear on your phone.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
And you can see us, our pretty little faces, on Instagram.
And you can see some pretty little tweets on Bluesky.
Dovewhether everywhere. Thank you so much for listening. Tell your friends, tell your lovers, tell your enemies to subscribe.
And slay the spire.
Bye.
Bye.